We can cross over now to Beijing to our correspondent there, Charles Pellegrin, to get an idea of how the report's going down there. Charles, with this report, has it now been accepted that COVID-19 definitely did start in China?
Well, based on the report's findings and what's been leaked in the media in the past few days, it's impossible to rule out the possibility that the virus may have had origins outside of China's borders. And this is because one of the hypotheses that's considered by the WHO team is that of transmission of the virus via frozen food and frozen food packaging. And they say that this hypothesis is still possible based on their findings. And this is a hypothesis that fits perfectly with the Chinese version of events with regards to this pandemic and with the Chinese official narrative about this pandemic, even though this mode of transmission of the virus hasn't really been brought up in any other countries. And even if a number of members of the international scientific community have discredited this particular mode of transmission of the virus, which according to the Chinese officials, is most likely to have started the epidemic at the Huanan food market in Wuhan over a year and a few months ago. So it's quite interesting to see that all this time after the beginning of the pandemic, there seems to be more confusion, if anything, about the origins of the virus. And this is partly due to the fact that China has waged a bit of a disinformation campaign about this virus, pushing forward this idea that the virus can be transmitted through frozen food packaging, imported frozen food packaging, but also with other high-ranking officials putting forward other theories that American soldiers brought the virus to China and to Wuhan during the 2019 winter military games in Wuhan, or recently even with the spokesperson for the Foreign Affairs Ministry here saying that the United States should welcome a WHO team to investigate on the biodefense program in Fort Detrick, a military base in the United States.
Meanwhile, Charles, we heard there in that report you played earlier, the US, questioning the conclusions of that report. The report was made after a visit to China that was very heavily controlled.
Yes, and to start with, this was a joint task force between 17 scientists from the international community from all over the world and 17 Chinese scientists, some of which hold positions in government-controlled institutions. So Beijing's aura was kind of overshadowing all the proceedings. And then there was also the question about access to raw data, which has never been really cleared out either by the members of the team of experts or by the Chinese investigation team itself. Did the 17 international experts have access to the raw form of data and not pre-selected samples chosen by the Chinese side? And that's never really been cleared out. Some investigators have complained about it and others have not, and said that there was full cooperation on the Chinese side. Really what's worrying here in the long term is that we may not have an answer as to the origins of this pandemic because of these issues with transparency and these issues of opacity with the work of the Chinese scientific community.
Charles, thanks very much indeed. Charles Pellegrin, our correspondent in Beijing.